morning, everybody. This is Lorraine Ball.
And Jennifer Diddy. And yes, I am still on Elevated Marketing Solutions spring break, but I love Lorraine so much that when I'm on spring break, she comes with me.
Thanks for taking me along. I'm happy to be here. And this is April 1st, but it's not a joke. We're going to talk today about employee onboarding.
Yes. I think this is a great topic. I know personally I'm hiring right now. And so, talking about this subject, I'm like, all right, get on my checklist.
And I think at this point where I don't have employees, but clearly that was something that was a big part of Round Peg when I ran the agency. And onboarding, this is where the success or failure of an employee really begins, and it begins in that first week.
I think it actually begins before that. So I think there's like all these different like phases that happen in onboarding. Like there's, I think you're onboarding an employee in the interview process.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, not in a physical sense, but they're thinking about, do I want this?
Mm-hmm. And so I think in that first phase, there's a lot of creating expectations.
Yeah.
This is what the job is. This is what you're going to be asked to do. Are you ready to do those things? But laying out in the interview pretty clearly, this is what the job is. And I think a lot of employers don't want to scare people. And so they don't tell them everything. And then they get there and the person is surprised. Well, you didn't tell me this was part of my job. You didn't tell me I'd have to know how to do this. And there's that tension, and you can avoid that, I think, in that first phase.
Well, because as an employer, you're like, oh my God, I need to hire. I need someone quick. I need to fill this. I just need them. And you're only thinking from your own mindset, and you're not thinking from the employee's mindset, and you're not putting yourself into, look, they're interviewing you just as much as you're interviewing them. At least they should be.
They should. Yes. And and so we're going to make the assumption that you're hiring a good employee, that you're hiring somebody who's going to be a good fit. And you need to think about, well, what are they looking for? Not just I asked them what their goal was in 5 years. Yeah, nobody knows what their goal is in 5 years. I mean, stop asking that question in an interview. It's stupid.
You almost got to talk somebody out of a job. Like, are you sure this is a good fit for you? Because you're taking on as an employer this, responsibility, and there's a lot of time and energy invested in it. And on the other side too, it's you got to date and get married, and
and it is as much. It is really a lot like dating. You want to know the person. I don't know that you want to know the family, but a little bit you do want to know the family, because especially if you're a small business owner, you're bringing this person into your family and into your culture. And so let's assume you've kind of gotten through that. You've really talked about expectations, and the person you've hired is a great fit. But even before they walk in the door, I remember my first big girl job out of grad school. I showed up on day one. My business cards were already there. Yes. There was a notepad with my name on, like a Lorraine Ball notepad, and there was a little plant on my desk.
Aw, that's awesome.
It was really nice, and I felt special. And I get that there are things you can and can't do, but if you can have something ready for that employee when they come, they walk in the door and they're like, oh, they really want me. And that's important.
What is it that you can't do in that situation? Like you're talking about like an in-person, I have a virtual environment, and you should still have a care package like ready to go in the mailbox with, okay, welcome to the team, like Elevated Marketing Solutions mug, here's your t-shirt, here's your notepad. like all of that stuff is there too. Like, okay, we want to add you to the website. Tell us, write a blog. You've got all these checklists of items.
And speaking of checklists, there are a lot of things that you can do in that period, and particularly now where there's so much competition for employees, and there is a really good chance that the person you've just made an offer to is interviewing for other jobs. And so,
highly likely.
After you say, "Hey, welcome to the family. We're happy you're here." A lot of times they're like, "Okay, well, I'm leaving my job, so I have 2 weeks." You want to be doing things during that 2 weeks before they start that reminds them that they're excited. But also, the worst thing is to come in on day one and have a stack of paperwork to fill out. All the tax stuff, all the, medical stuff. Get that to the employee ahead of time. Say, hey, look, we're going to send you all of this stuff. If you can get it filled out before you come in, we'll be ready to hit the ground running.
Yeah. So that for me, that takes in like all the time that it takes, and don't have that first week of here's all the work I want to dump on you. It's going to take them a while to get used to. I mean, in my environment, an agency, like we have so many clients, like they need to learn these clients, they need to learn your processes, like lower your expectations. I think it's 1 to 3 months is the current what you mentality of you should take as an employer that is going to take for somebody to kind of onboard to your systems.
And so I think you need to think about, what does the person need to know right away? What do they need? When do they need to know these things? And how soon can you get them doing something? And the rhythm that we found was, we got their email address the minute they said yes. We got them an email address.
Yes.
And we said, listen, you're going to start getting invitations to meetings and stuff. Don't worry about it. We're going to copy you on emails. Don't stress about it. But when you come in, you're going to need these appointments because these are regular meetings that we have. You're going to need this background because this is going to be your client. So, and you don't overwhelm the person, but you start kind of including them in the flow.
What you could not do is get so excited that you instantly include them into things that are going to be too overwhelming. I think of my scenario again with an agency, and there's so many clients, like you wouldn't take on 20 clients in one day.
No, but again, a little bit selectively. But then the other thing we did is we actually created a 2-week schedule that included things like, and we gave that schedule to them on day one, and we said, look, this is what you need to do today. So today, on day one, you need to have a meeting with Rebecca to confirm that you've got all of your paper, all the paperwork is done. You're going to spend an hour with
mentor.
Me doing this. And then we're going to have you do this one little project, so that every day they felt like they were making a contribution to the organization, but we weren't rushing it. And that way and that list of things they needed to do, every time we had an employee, at the end of 3 months, it would be like, what did we forget to tell you in the first week that you really wish you'd known?
Yeah. I also think of this, 70% of employees are more likely to stay with the company for at least 3 years after a great onboarding. It's that first date, it's that first impression. And so if you don't have like staying organized, like I just had up there with checklists and like thinking about all of this stuff, you're going to put a lot of time and effort, and you're going to be constantly like hiring and rehiring, and it's a rabbit hole you don't want to be in.
I'll never forget. And I was talking earlier, my first big girl job, my business cards were ready, and I got a little flowers, but my boss sat down with me and started going through a really, what I'm going to call, obscure process, but he was an engineer. And it was this spreadsheet, and he was going column by column. And we did that for like 3 hours. And he thought it was like stuff I needed to know, but he also didn't drink coffee. And I went home after day one and I thought, oh my God. And I really thought, okay, yeah, I can't do this. And then I walked in and he had never had anybody work for him before. So I walked in on day number 2 and I said, we need to stop. Number 1, I need coffee because we're not going to do this 2 days in a row. And then I said, and while that chart is interesting, is it really the most important thing I know about this job? And a light bulb went off, and it just changed the conversation. So sometimes I guess if you're an employee, you need to maybe help your employer if they don't know how to onboard you and it's a job you really want.
I just got in my inbox this morning somebody, when I'm asking for an interview, do you have any questions? And this candidate gave me a list of their questions. I really like your onboarding process. I really like that you ask these questions. So here's my questions. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. This is great.
No, but it is. And as an employer, I think that's part of the onboarding process and the ongoing retention process. It's how you create an environment where other people want to work is not about you. It is about you asking questions. What do you want to know? What do you need to know? What else can we do to make this a place that you want to be? And it's
back to this. It's employees and employers want to be happy in their careers. If you make a good environment where everybody likes to do what they like to do, then it's going to be a good relationship. But if you're trying to take this mindset of, well, I'm paying somebody a paycheck, so they should just do this job, that doesn't exist anymore, and it should have never existed. But it did.
It's funny. I worked in corporate, and there was a guy that I worked with, and he was really good at most of his job. But there were things he didn't want to do. And I watched him for 8 years avoid a project through 3 directors. There was always a reason. There was always an excuse. And I came to understand that the truth is, people are going to do what they want. You just have to make sure that you create a place that they want to be, that they want to do what you're asking.
You know how many people I've talked out of a job before?
Mm-hmm.
A lot. I've had a high ranking, like one of the best around, and I talked to this person out of the job.
Mm-hmm.
But my boss was just like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, they're not happy. And if I can't make them happy, I want them to be happy wherever they are. They are not going to perform. They're not going to do their job. Like, I'm not the right fit for them. But that was a corporate place too. Now I'm a small company. I'm like, hey, I want you to be happy.
Yeah. And let's see how we can do it. And we can talk about this forever. But what I'm going to suggest is go off and do it and maybe share your favorite onboarding tip here in the comments.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Share it so everybody can kind of see that. And then, maybe an employer or two will pick that up.
Absolutely. All right, guys, happy second quarter. Go off and do something amazing.
Spring break for me. I'm going spring break the rest of the day.
All right, well, you go spring break. I'll hold down the fort, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.